Brilliant. So just yeah, so thank you everyone for joining us at the start of term, which is always a very, very busy time in schools. So thank you, particularly if you've had a very busy day with lots of pupils. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you've got a cup of tea and a biscuit or two in your hands. The aim of today, you've probably seen from the agenda, I'm going to give a bit of an update about Schools of Sanctuary. Some of us today are joining the meeting for the first time, so I'm going to be explaining a little bit of background. Apologies to anyone who's heard it before, but it's only going to be brief. And then we're going to move on to, we've got a couple of organisations that are going to explain some opportunities available to schools. And then we've got Catherine Nutting, who is the Deputy Head at Hoyle Court, who's going to share a bit of how they got involved in Schools of Sanctuary and supported some of their Ukrainian students. So yeah, as ever, I hope today is helpful. We will aim to finish before 5 o'clock, so you can get away. But if you do need to leave for any reason throughout the meeting, we won't be offended. So Thomas, we've got the wonderful Thomas, who's our admin and comms guy at City of Sanctuary, who does a wonderful job with all the tech and takes that stress away from me. So yeah, Thomas, do you want to go on to the next slide? Hopefully you've all had a chance to read in the chat who everybody is and where everybody's from. Apologies that I don't think we have time to kind of go around individually. But yeah, if you see anybody that you think you might want to connect with, last time we sent out email addresses from everybody with permission. So if that's not okay, let me know and we won't put your email address on the group that we send around the details of. So if you don't know, City of Sanctuary is a UK organisation. We're a national movement about welcome and belonging, with the kind of ethos that all places in the UK should be welcoming places of safety and belonging for people seeking sanctuary. And we use the term seeking sanctuary rather than refugees and asylum seekers, because we think it puts the people first. Yeah, we have a whole booklet on terminology if you ever want to delve deeper into why we use the word sanctuary. But we are also a City of Sanctuary in Bradford and have been for a long time. And if you go on to the next slide, Thomas, across the country, there are about 120 community groups. So Cities of Sanctuary, Bradford City of Sanctuary, Leeds, the City of Sanctuary. And then out of City of Sanctuary come different streams. So we have colleges, we have schools, libraries, local authorities of Sanctuary. Bradford is a local authority of Sanctuary. The library service are also working towards a Sanctuary Award. We have museums and theatres in the pipeline. Bradford University is also a University of Sanctuary. All these organisations who have worked towards the award, which I'll explain more about as we go on. So if you go on to the next slide for me, Thomas, that would be great. Yeah, so why are they important? Why are schools and colleges of Sanctuary important? I always say we have two main aims with this project. One is to raise awareness about forced migration in all schools and colleges amongst all pupil populations, to build cultures of compassion with young people at the forefront. So that's the first prong. And the second prong is to ensure that education provision meets the needs of new arrivals. So some schools we find have lots of pupils seeking sanctuary, and number two is just as important as number one. Other schools we work with don't have any pupils who are seeking sanctuary, but this is just as relevant for them because it's all about awareness raising and building cultures of welcome and compassion. So next slide, Thomas, thank you. Why this group? Well, this is a space for schools to share good practice around education for pupils seeking sanctuary, to learn about opportunities, to receive support about the award, and to hear from guest speakers from lots of organisations. There is so much going on around Bradford. We receive emails about 5 times a day from different projects wanting to sort of share their services and what they can offer with schools. So the point of this is to bring some of that together and to make helpful connections. We've had teachers sort of pairing up as a result of this group, sharing good practice. So it's quite new though, and in its infancy, so all feedback welcome. Yeah, Thanks, Thomas. Next slide. Very, very quickly, and we're going to whiz through these. So how do you become a School of Sanctuary? Learn, embed, share. If you need any more information about this, I'll happily have a one-to-one with you. But if we could just flick through the next slides, Thomas. So learning, it's all about staff training and workshops and assemblies and your curriculum, learning from other schools about what you can implement. And we run lots of these things with our partners. And then embed. It's about lots of different things. It's about your policies and practices. It's about your provisions, and you can see some examples on the screen. Everything from induction to school council to having people with lived experience of seeking sanctuary. In your parent board and your governor's board, trauma-informed approaches in the classroom, and then the last one is share, which is about sharing this work, sharing the message, awareness raising. Things, and we've done lots of this sort of stuff across Bradford, and we message out regularly about ways you can get involved. So support we offer, I think I've said lots of this: training, assemblies, workshops, one-to-one advice, teaching resources, newsletters, lots of linking and signposting to services across Bradford, and then membership of our network going forward. And to become the School of Sanctuary, well, very, very simply, it's working your way through the checklist, which has all the links to everything you need to know, getting involved in our events, training opportunities, and then filling in and submitting an application, having a visit from our assessment panel, and receiving an award and attending a ceremony. And the wonderful Access team did a ceremony for us last June, and we really enjoyed presenting some awards. You can see that picture there of the lovely Eastwood Community School. So just really quickly, because I'm going to hand over to Faraha quite soon, our website. Thomas, could you hop onto our website? Our website has been a place where we keep everything. I just wanted to show you the latest little videos, and brilliant. So Schools of Sanctuary, there's 3 new videos that the national team have made, like 3 or 4 minute things. If you wanted to find out more, there's an introduction to Schools of Sanctuary, the process and the criteria. And then if you go down, you've got your resource pack, and you've got, Thomas, could you click on the checklist process for accreditation? It's just a set, perfect. This PDF is everything. If you follow this, you can't go wrong, I like to say. It has everything you need to know, and all the links for exactly how to work your way through the award, and the training that you need, and that's available on the website. That's brilliant, Thomas. If you could pop back on the other bit. And then our resources page is under the schools and colleges tab, and here we have all sorts of things, from assemblies to learning resources and all the different themes. We've got a Christmas page, film workshops, loads of induction booklets, examples, materials, lots of school council and social action kind of projects you can get involved with, World Book Day, staff CPD. So yeah, have a browse through everything there. I am not going to share that now. And then we have a Facebook page that I'd really recommend liking, because we post very regularly things on that daily, resources, workshops, things to get involved with, like this wonderful new book that I saw at the weekend. And our Twitter page, X page, is also there for I cross post between those, so it's exactly the same. So yeah, that's a really good way to get very frequent updates. Just pop back to the main PowerPoint, Thomas. Just wanted to say we've changed our communications recently. So at the beginning of each half term, we'll send you a long email. It's very boring, lots of text, that just has updates about CPD, learning resources, things in Bradford, like that. Then at the end of each half term, we'll send some good news stories about good practice or things that have gone on in schools. And then this communities of practice meeting is half termly. And just to flick on. Yeah, so this is an example of the email update we sent out most recently. I'm sure lots of you got it. So we had training and workshops, 2 that actually weren't mentioned. I think, were they mentioned on there? this is how frequently opportunities arise. So I probably emailed lots of you about workshops, Key Stage 2 or Key Stage 3 ones, Tom Palmer, the author. If lots of you have got back to me, but if you would like to find out more about workshops with Tom Palmer, they're free. Let me know. He's an author and written a lot about refugees and migration. And then How to Be Lucky, I might let Amelia plug this more when she comes to speak, is a free interactive awareness raising play and workshop about people seeking sanctuary. And it's being offered for free for Key Stage 3 and 4 in Bradford. Brilliant opportunity with a theatre company. They will come into school. If this is something you'd like to do, then get in touch with Amelia. You probably have received multiple emails from us. We know it's a busy time of year, but do get back to us because it seems like a shame to waste the opportunity. And then if we could flick on Thomas. Yeah, so this is an example of the resources, the most recent resources that we would put out in these emails. This came out recently. Then the next slide. Oh, I couldn't help mention this book that I saw at the weekend. Sorry, it was really good. It just released this summer. The Girl at the Front of the Classroom, really good for Key Stage 1. Lots of practical ideas. It comes with teaching resource packs too and posters. She also wrote The Boy at the Back of the Class, who I'm sure lots of you have read with your children. The next slide, Thomas. Yeah, and then we'd always have some kind of Bradford-based advocacy at the end of these emails. There's a letter writing to the new education secretary calling for more support and resources. And also I wanted to mention Bevan Healthcare, who are offering a really good space for any of your families who are seeking sanctuary every Wednesday from 10 till 12. And they have a huge range of services attend to provide all kinds of support. So if you have families or pupils in your school, do signpost them to this. It's on their website, but it's a brilliant service for families. I think that might be my last slide, Thomas, but I'm not sure. Yes, brilliant. That's my closing slide. So that was a lot. I will send around the slides. The slides are attached and they'll be on the website. So do feel free to refer back to them. But just wanted to give you a bit of an example of the things we offer, how you can get involved with us, what we're trying to extract from what's going on in Bradford to kind of sieve out that's relevant for you and for sanctuary seeking pupils at school. So we're going to move on to 3 different opportunities from Faraha, Rachel and Amelia. And then we're going to end with Catherine, who's going to share for us about school. So before I move on, any questions so far about what was shared there? You can always email me or pop stuff in the chat as we go through as well. Okay, brilliant. Well, Faraha, nice to see you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're all doing well. Yeah, my name is Farah Hamsanzi. I am a speaker, I'm a storyteller, I'm many things, a singer-songwriter and an activist. Yeah, and I just wanted to share briefly about what I do in schools as a speaker and storyteller. So about 2 years ago, just over 2 years ago, just after I quit my previous job, I was invited into 2 schools to share a little bit about my story with a few young people, well, kind of primary school age, I think year 5, year 6. And I didn't really think much of it at the time, and I just went and told my story of how I left my home country, Congo, 22 years ago now, and just the challenges that I face as a young refugee coming into Bradford, my experience in schools, yeah, and some of the ways I overcame those challenges. And I remember those young people asking me so many questions, and I mean, I've gone through a lot to kind of heal from the trauma of growing up in a war zone and moving and migrating and all of the baggages that come with that. We don't have a lot of time to unpack that, but I think it was just such a privilege to be in that room. And I remember leaving that day, that those schools, feeling like, there's something here and I can't quite put my finger on it. And so afterwards I started thinking about what would it look like for me to actually go into schools and tell my story to group of young people, whether it's in an assembly or in a small classroom. And that's how I kind of came up with this idea of being a freelance speaker. So what I've been doing over the last year and a half is, with the help of the amazing Kate, who goes into schools, is and schools of sanctuary, is to go into primary schools mainly at the moment. And I do half an hour assemblies, and I mainly share my story of, again, as I said, how I left DRC Congo 22 years ago. But I really, as a storyteller, one thing that I always love doing is making my sessions really interactive. So I bring photos, and I bring props, and I bring videos of actually kind of immersing those kids into the story of what it's like to grow up in a war zone, to leave your country, to navigate finding your feet in a new land, not speaking a word of English, and navigating your new identity, and just finding like who you are, where you belong. So that's kind of what I do. And I think the reason why I do it is because I really feel like, as Kate touched on briefly, there is so much there's so much awareness that needs to be raised on this topic of migration. And most of us, we've heard so many negative narratives that we hear in the news. And I believe that it's really important that we challenge those narratives, that we, as an activist, for me, I feel pretty responsible as a refugee to share my story. But I also think schools are such important places to start this conversation, because oftentimes I encounter people who are ignorant in their older, who are adults, but actually it's very hard to change people's perspective once they've been brought up with a certain mindset. But when we start educating the younger generation, who I believe we need to invest in, it's easier to, I mean, they're just more receptive. I find that the kids and young people are just curious. They want to ask questions, they want to understand, they want to know how they can be change makers. And so I think for me, as someone who has a lived experience, I feel like telling them the full story of the push and pull factors of why people leave their countries is so important. But I also think it is important to tell the whole story, not just the single story, because we know that when you tell there are so much dangers of the single story. I don't know if any of you have ever heard that TED talk by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, who is an amazing Nigerian author. Google that or put it on YouTube. It's amazing. But yeah, anyway, I think it's important that we tell the whole story, not just of migrants or sanctuary seekers being victims, but also what are some of the things that they've accomplished whilst they're here. And I guess also that touches on the next thing, the reason why I do it, because I really, going into schools, I find that there is a kind of lack of role models who are literally here living in Bradford, who are local, not just people like Malala and the amazing other role models in the migrant community, but actually going into schools and telling these kids that, hey, there are people here in Bradford who come from migrant backgrounds, who are making an impact and making sure that their stories are also told, and they get to be celebrated. And it's not just the Refugee Week thing, it's like an ongoing, on a day-to-day process of actually celebrating them. I also think that, for me, it's about developing that sense of curiosity in young people, but also educating them to understand the full story. As I said, for me, it's not just about me telling the reason of why I left, but it's also about talking about, well, what is really going on in Congo right now. What are some of the for them to understand whether it's conflict or it's people who are being persecuted, so they understand I guess the complexities of why people leave their homes, um, and also to empower the young people to know that they can make a change. And I think that's where I kind of end my sessions on. It's like, here's my story, but also you guys are the next, leaders, and therefore this is what you can do to make schools a very important and welcoming place for others who might come into your school who don't speak English, who are new who are new on your street. How do you extend that level of like love and care and hospitality to others beyond school? So that's kind of something that I'm really, really passionate about. And yeah, so I do this mainly through, as I said, assemblies. I also run like workshops in classroom-based settings. I recently started doing trainings as well for teachers. So again, just unpacking some of my own story, some of the challenges that I face, and the teachers and individuals who came into my life in that kind of early stage of my journey here in the UK. As a student, as a young student starting in school, who impacted me to be where I am today. So it's about kind of celebrating those unsung heroes in my own personal life as well. So yeah, those trainings I've been doing really well, and yeah, hoping to expand this beyond just me telling my story and actually bringing in extra other amazing, I guess, role models in our community who can come and share their stories, and also empowering our kind of kids and young people in schools to know that their stories also matter, that it's not just about my story, but that they also giving them the tools to be able to tell their own stories. So that's kind of a highlight of a little bit about who I am. And if you want to find out more about me and how I can come into your schools, or you want to kind of reach out, I'll drop my email in the chat. And I guess just wanted to end with one highlight of something that happened to me this year is during Refugee Week I had the privilege of going back to my primary school. So I came when I was 11, so I went straight into year 6 couldn't speak a word of English, and I got to go back to my primary school, St Oswald's in BD7 or BD5, I think, Bradford 5, and so yeah, I did an assembly there, and it was just such a full circle moment for me. And the deputy head teacher, the current deputy head teacher was actually my year 6 teacher, so we had a little bit of a moment, like which is really emotional. But for me, that's why I do this. It's to be able to empower those kids to say, hey, how amazing would it be for you to come back and also celebrate how far you've come, and also hear that if I can accomplish certain things in my life, despite the challenges that I've faced, that they also have they can also dream big and reach basically the sky's not the limit. It can reach higher than that, where I've landed. So yeah, thank you guys for listening, and let me know if you've got any questions. Back to you, Kate.
Thank you so much, Faraha. And if the wonderful Faraha has not come into your school for an assembly or to tell stories or to sing, you did some singing workshops, didn't you, with the school in Keighley with us?
Yeah.
So she is very, very multi-talented. But I think we've been really trying to work out how we can do storytelling and how we can share people's stories in Bradford. And there's tons of brilliant online resources, but there's nothing like having somebody come in face to face. And Faraha really is inspirational and has a magical way with children and pupils. And we have on our Schools of Sanctuary webpage as an assemblies page, Faraha's face and details is on there, but also on our CPD page, you'll see her CPD info about the sessions that she runs for staff. So get in touch with me or get in touch with her if you would like her to come into your school or your organisation. Actually, doesn't just have to be a school, does it, for her?
No.
Your story is applicable for all, and it's great that you're trying to build other people's stories into that kind of bank as well. So thank you so much for sharing. Are there any questions for Faraha right now? Just leave the floor open for 20 seconds. Great. Well, perhaps we will move on, and I will pop the webpage for Faraha in the chat. I think I put the TED Talk about the power of a single story. Oh, there's your email. Thank you, Faraha. In the chat as well. We will save the chat and make sure that's forwarded to you. Brilliant, thank you. Okay, I think next on the agenda is Amelia, who does brilliant work for Solace. and has lots of things to share with us about trauma-informed practice. So over to you. And you've got a PowerPoint, I think. Are you screen sharing?
Yeah. Have I? Where are we? Right. Hello. Thanks, Kate. Thanks, Farah. That was wonderful. I was grinning all the way through. Sounds great. So I'm Amelia Scanlon from Solace. I cover Bradford and Calderdale. But Solace are an organisation who cover the whole of Yorkshire, and we offer lots of different therapeutic services to lots of different groups of sanctuary seekers. But I'm going to talk to you specifically today about the Children and Families Wellbeing Support, which I always forget the name of because I only use the acronym, so I get lost when I'm saying that. Ignore me. So I'm a child and family therapist, and there's other child and family therapists working in Bradford. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the different services as well as this one that are in Bradford in a little while. And I think, can we share these slides, Kate, after? Because I'm going to just fly through them. This is it's got a lot of information on the PowerPoint, but I'm not going to go over all of it in detail. So you can find all of the information that I talk about today, you'll find on these slides, or you can go to the website, and I'm going to show you the website as well, so you can have a little look around, because there's really good resources on there for you and for sanctuary seekers. Okay, so we've been working in Bradford for a few years, but this particular project has had quite low referrals. And I think it's because people don't necessarily know about us. So we've been trying really, really hard over the last few months to build really good relationships. Kate's been amazing at helping get the word out for us, as well as the education access team. We've built links with lots of different organisations in Bradford, and increasingly trying to make to build relationships with schools. And I'll hopefully build some with you. Okay, so the therapeutic support is for resettled children and young people of school age, and it's currently only for families who have arrived through the UK resettlement schemes. So that's the schemes from the UKRS, which was mainly but not exclusively Syrian families, and Afghan schemes, the more recent Afghan schemes. Unfortunately, not Ukrainian families at the moment. So it's for primary schools, secondary schools and colleges. And I think often when people think Solace, if you know Solace, there's kind of a belief or expectation that people have to be in a mental health crisis or have quite a high difficulty with their mental health, which we're going to talk about in a minute. But for this, and I'll talk about why people are referred to the service, but there is no lower threshold. So it might be that you have a little concern for a child in the school about how they're settling in, or different things that I'll go over in a minute. Or one of their family members, and anybody can refer. Okay, so different reasons for referring, particularly in schools. It might be that a child is isolating, not yet settling in. Maybe there's a block to learning. There's some school refusal. We see internal truanting or avoidance of classes or school altogether. The project was originally funded because we were seeing a disproportionate amount of exclusions and suspensions for sanctuary seeking children, and we wanted to understand that further and support the schools and support the families to be able to manage. It might be that the children are very compliant, or it might be that there's some disruption in classes, and often we see that this is a masking of a different need, maybe an emotional well-being need, or something else, maybe a learning need that we can help to unpick as well, and support you to refer on to appropriate services. Often we'll see in schools children are going out of their window of tolerance, which would mean that they're going into, they're either feeling very, very anxious or angry and reactive, or they are feeling very low and disengaged and just not really able to engage in learning. Or you can see a different trauma response, so fight, flight or freeze. Or it might be that the children actually are thriving, but you recognise that one of the parents or even extended family members, so it might be an older sibling or a grandparent, you recognise as a school, it might be that you have that contact and you recognise that they've got a need for therapeutic support. And because there is a school-age child in the family, they are eligible for the therapeutic support. So every member of the family can access it. Sometimes we see conflict between siblings or between a parent and a child or parents, and we can support with that as well. And often what we find is that families arrive in the UK, children might learn English a lot more quickly, and then start to do a lot of interpreting and translating, and that changes the roles between family members, and the different kind of power dynamics and expectations can shift a little bit there, and so we help to unpick that and to rebalance that as well with family members. Also, if people are experiencing racism in Bradford, then we can support with that. Okay, so just quickly, this is a lot of information, but this is just to show how we work systemically. So we work, if we think about the child as an individual, it might not be that there's something necessarily going on internally with that child. It might be that the system around them is struggling or is under strain. So what I mean by that is we'd look at the parents and the family. We'd also look at the school and support the schools to think, is there anything that they could do a bit differently or shift a little bit? And we'd look at, we also consider, when we're doing our full assessment of the family, we consider what's going on in the country. So that's been very relevant recently. Everything that happened over the summer has really impacted the families that I'm working with, and we consider that therapeutically. But we also consider their home country and all of the people who are, with them in their hearts and minds, but not in the country with them, and how that's impacting them. So we do a full systemic assessment and we put a plan together. So what that means is we'd speak to the school or whoever refers, and then we'd meet with the child, and then we'd meet with the family, and we'd do a full assessment, and we'd work out, okay, where's the intervention needed here? It might be that actually, dad's really struggling and needs some one-to-one therapeutic support, and then the impact of that will be the child's well-being also increases. Or it might be that the child's having some difficulty with friendships in school, so we come into school and do some one-to-one work with the child there. Or anything. We think as creatively and flexibly as we can, but often we will come in to see the child at school, or if they prefer at home, it's up to them really. We offer couples therapy, individual therapy, and then family members together, and we offer 3 months of support, and then we review it, and it can be ongoing. And then we offer training for staff as well. So currently we've got between an hour and a half a day training developed that can be delivered for free to a full staff team. But I am going to be putting on some individual days that individuals from schools can book onto. And details of that are just there. And we can also support schools to understand the needs of the family, the wider needs of the family, but also parents and carers to understand the expectations of the school and different expectations around life in the UK. And so we can help to facilitate that dialogue. Often that's been really helpful between schools and families. Okay, so often when we talk about mental health or a referral to a mental health service, people are quite wary, particularly in some communities there's a lot of stigma around mental health. So I would, if you're thinking about referring a family and you're thinking about how to have that conversation with them, I would not often use the words mental health or anxiety or depression or anything like that. I'd often use words like, what's weighing on your shoulders? Is there anything heavy on your heart? Or do you have things on your mind that you'd like to speak to a counsellor or therapist about? And I think through talking to lots of people, including people in other areas of Yorkshire, they have said that actually they know the family really needs support, but they don't want a referral just to a random organisation or a random person. So my intention is to try to be around make relationships basically with families and with children by doing I'm doing lots of wellbeing workshops through Horton Housing, so people can get to know me, and it's just a referral to Amelia rather than a referral to a random organisation. So I'm just thinking how that we've attended Refugee Week celebrations, and we went to the celebration event that Kate spoke about earlier. Just to get us out there really, to start building relationships with people so they feel comfortable about the referral. And any other ideas you've got, if you're having an event or something, I can come along and just start to build those relationships. We also work always with specialist interpreters. So if families have got a good level of English, we would still work with an interpreter, because when people are talking about emotions, it's really important that can just flow. And clients have a choice of interpreter. It would be the same interpreter every session, and the interpreters are supported as well before and after. And they have really, really helped me in developing my understanding of different cultural norms, I guess, in the client's background. So I can understand, again, that wider context of the material. A little bit more about the training. I think Kate sent some information out previously. But yeah, this is just a little bit of information about that, raising awareness, understanding stress, and the effects of trauma. And it might be that there's a family or a child who actually doesn't want a referral to Solace. They don't want a referral to a mental health project. They've got too many people in their lives already. They'd rather have privacy, and actually you have a good relationship with them, but you just like to have an opportunity to think about how to support them, not as therapists, but in a trauma-informed way. So I'm really happy to have a consultation about that. And talk to you about different things that you could try within the school to support children, really, if that's the need. Okay, so for referrals, that's all of my information. Kate will send the slides, so you've got that, and there's loads of information. Oh, hold on. Yeah, so there's loads of information on our website that I'm going to show you in a second. But there is, because I recognise the limitations of this only being offered to resettled families, although there's a huge need in Bradford for that. There's lots of other sanctuary seeking families who need therapeutic support. So the Education Access team also recognise that, and they have found quite a small pot of money to do a pilot project in 2 primary schools and 2 secondary schools, so Westminster, St Stephen's, Grange and Carlton Bolling, to be able to deliver that model to all sanctuary seeking children. And like I said, that's a pilot, so who knows what will happen in the future. But there's also some one-to-one and group support for young people, adolescents and upwards, so I think roughly between, but not exclusively, 15 to 25-year-olds. If they're patients of Bevan Healthcare, they can access one-to-one and group support, and that's all sanctuary seeking young people. And if a family is known already to Refugee Action Early Help, then the parents can go to parenting classes and the children can have one-to-one therapy. And there's always, for all sanctuary seeking adults, there is one-to-one therapeutic support. So all of that information, again, is on the website, or you can ask me and I can get your inquiry to the right person. And then on the website, so on the website, we've got some really helpful e-learning. which is understanding refugee and asylum seeker mental health and effective therapeutic support. So yeah, they're for you guys to do, or anybody you think might be interested. And there's also lots of resources for people seeking safety. So information about the refugee journey, but also seeking asylum. And they've been translated into different languages. So stress, coping with stress. So these are things that you can just direct people to. I don't think they're appropriate for children, so I'm just going to go over quickly, but maybe preparing to sleep and things like that. But yeah, for any parents, if that comes up, you can direct them to these different videos. That'd be really helpful. And then I think that's it really, but I might talk, well, any questions and I'll talk about how to be lucky. So I'll stop sharing my screen.
Thank you so much, Amelia. That's really, really valuable. I can't emphasize enough what a valuable resource Solace are, and you know, teacher training. We've actually made it part of our Schools of Sanctuary process. If you would like some trauma-informed training for your school, get in touch with Amelia. It's such a brilliant resource to have that is underused, would you say, Amelia? Or like,
it is.
Yeah. So if you have pupils or families that fit that scheme, get in touch, and it's all about, I think I put the link on our chat for all our CPD with links to Amelia. Yes, thank you.
Any questions? Oh, interesting. Thank you.
Great. And yeah, just get in touch with me. Oh, yes, just quickly, because we're a bit over time.
Oh, you worried about time? Yeah. So how to be lucky? Well, I think you said it really, Kate. It's a play that Solace is funding, but we're only funding limited amount of showing. So if you a secondary school, it's year 10 upwards, so secondary schools or colleges. It's just this incredible play that's got brilliant feedback about one. I don't know how old a young man, like an adolescent, his journey from, I think, Syria, and then arriving into the UK, and all of the things that that happened for him. I've not seen it, so I'm talking really vaguely, but I have seen the reviews and they're really, really, really great. So if you're interested, I think the showing is maybe 2 hours. So if year 10s or 11s or anyone in college would like a showing of that, it's funded currently, and there's some dates in November and you can book in, and yeah, it just looks absolutely brilliant and really, really important, particularly right now. Not exclusively right now, but particularly after everything that happened in the summer, there's it's a really good opportunity to start that education and talking about all of those things. So
brilliant. I popped the link in the chat, and then do get in touch with me or Amelia if you'd like to pursue that. But thank you so much. That was brilliant, and we'll share those slides, all that info in our pack. Thank you. Excellent. Let's move on to Rachel, who's going to talk to us about Prevent and what's on offer for Bradford schools. I'm sure of you in the teaching world, all of you will be familiar with the Prevent programme, but I will hand over to Rachel to let her explain more and why it's important, so important.
Thank you. So I'm Rachel, I'm the Prevent Education Officer for Bradford. There are only 2 of us in the team at the minute. There's me and the Prevent Coordinator, but that will change because we've got 3 jobs closing today. So we're also looking to recruit 2 community engagement officers to work with museums, to work with the faith-based settings and anybody else that we can think of to try and engage. So schools will know that they are a statutory provider and they are required to do certain things for Prevent. One of those things is to have a Prevent risk assessment. So one of the things that I do is I can support schools with writing those. I can quality assure them to make sure that you've got everything in that you need. I've been looking at quite a few of them recently, and they've been missing the kind of critical local risk. Some education settings use the Home Office Prevent training. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. That's what it's there for. It is generally used in areas, though, that don't have a funded Prevent team. Not everywhere has somebody like me. Some areas are not funded. They don't have access to those resources. Bradford, Calderdale, Kirklees and Leeds are all funded areas. So we have the prevent teams, and we can provide the training ourselves, go into schools and talk about local risk, talk about exactly what's going on in Bradford, with access to data that we get from the counter-terrorist police. So there is some of that data that I'm allowed to share with schools. So if you've not had a copy of the counter-terrorist local profile, I can send you that. There is another slightly more in-depth version of that I send out sort of little nuggets of in my monthly Prevent newsletter, but we're not actually allowed to send that out because it's classed as official sensitive information. So there's kind of a way around it. I can get the information to schools to make sure that you've got it. I just can't actually send you the official document. We are seeing a significant shift in the way radicalisation is taking place. In about 2007, I think it was, 4% of Prevent referrals mentioned some kind of online issue. Now that's up to about 94%. All Prevent related issues, they're coming from online. People are being radicalised on the internet. And sadly, a lot of them, it's self-initiated radicalisation. They're viewing things on YouTube, on Snapchat, on TikTok, wherever. They're then clicking on the next one and the next one and the next one, and they're falling down that rabbit hole. And what they're actually doing is they're putting themselves in a position where the algorithms will change for everybody who connects to the internet in that household, and everybody will be exposed to the more extreme content, not just that one person that's clicking on it. So you could have a 5-year-old going on YouTube to watch some cartoons, but because mum or dad or whoever has been viewing this extreme content, if they've not got the safety measures in place for the little ones, it'll push them towards the extreme content as well. And very sadly, the third highest age group for referrals at the minute is the 6 to 11-year-olds. I personally don't believe that a 6 to 11-year-old being referred to Prevent knows what radicalisation is, that they know what they're talking about when they're saying things like Hitler was right, we should murder all Jews, and these are the kinds of things that we're seeing coming through. I don't believe that those 6 to 11-year-olds know what they're talking about. I believe that they are parroting something that they are hearing somewhere else. But unfortunately, we still have to take those at face value and work with the child and work with the family around that. As part of that, we only work in the non-criminal space. So all of the things that we saw over the summer where criminality occurred, we can't deal with that. That was taken out of our hands. Some of those people may well have been open to Prevent. Some of them will have come in straight over the top of Prevent, straight into a criminal action. You know, there was the nursery nurse posting on Twitter that we should burn down all the hotels with migrants in and things like that. That wouldn't have come to Prevent because that just came out of nowhere. But it might mean that, you know, there's some work around the family or people that are exposed to them, other young people, etc., that we could work with. If I can screen share, I'm just going to show you the Skills for Bradford screen. I've never used Zoom before, this is new to me. So can you all see Skills for Bradford? Give me a nod if you can see that. Right, okay. So on this website, we have the Prevent resources. So basically all you do is put Prevent in up there and it'll bring up this. You don't have to be signed in to view any of this stuff. If you want to book onto any of our courses, you do need an account, but you can see all of this just from a general search. So you've got various courses and things that we're running there. I run Train the Trainer so that I can train the safeguarding team and then they can go off and train the rest of the staff. Or I'm doing a session for governors. You've got bits of information, the Prevent conferences. I'm hosting 2 of those next month. There's one for secondary, there's one for primary. And the idea of those is to kind of highlight how preventative education is key to improving relationships and to ending hateful narratives and things like that. There's an expert on PSHE coming to speak. There's somebody from Yorkshire and Humber Regional Organised Crime coming to talk about cyber crimes. We've got all kinds of people coming, somebody coming to talk about student leadership. But this one here, this is the main page, the Welcome to the Prevent Team one. And the lovely Tina at Bradford Council's just changed this for me. So you've got the key information about making a prevent referral at the top. We've been told by counter-terrorist police and the Home Office we are no longer allowed to have the prevent referral form on public-facing websites. I've got no idea why. Nobody seems to have any idea why, but that's what we've been told. So if you need a copy of it, my details are over here on this side. Please feel free to get in touch. You've got various bits of information about how we can support you. So I don't just train staff, I can come in and do sessions with the young people. They're not necessarily going to be on, you know, right kids, don't be a terrorist. It's going to be things along the lines of critical thinking skills. How do you verify some information that you've seen online? How do you know that that's the accurate information? Sort of looking at the very, very early intervention stuff. We've got information about discussing the situation in Israel, Gaza, because we know we've had a lot of schools having problems with that. It's broken up into different areas for different schools. And these training sessions here, these are all on-demand videos. You don't need to sign in to do anything. If you've got a spare 10 minutes, you can watch one of those. I don't think any of them are any longer than 15 minutes. And it's just me basically with a PowerPoint talking through it so you can get different bits and pieces of information. And then we've got links to lots of other websites here. I will put the Schools of Sanctuary website on there because I've just realised it's not. So that's a job for tomorrow. And then some more useful documents here. So we've added things like how to teach debate skills. Do your children know how to argue properly, or do they just shout and scream and stamp their feet and go out and, you know, do things they potentially shouldn't? Serious rioting, we've put some information about that. Bradford was extremely lucky over the summer. I was incredibly grateful because I was off that week on annual leave watching all the riots at home thinking, oh my God, I should be at work and dealing with this, but it was okay. Things about online safety and talking to children about sensitive news and issues like that. So all of that is on there should anybody need it at any point. I know there's some community-based groups and things on as well, so we can also come and train your staff or work with you in any way. Prevent doesn't have the best reputation, and in Bradford there is some anti-prevent sentiment. We are working very hard to dispel that. That came from really bad comms when it was sort of first put out into the public, and the term Islamist terrorism does not help at all. That is a term that we do not use. So yeah, we are very conscious that we want to engage people in Bradford. We don't want to turn people away based on what they think they know about Prevent. So if you come across anybody that, you know, you think there's a bit of an anti-prevent sentiment there, please feel free to give us a ring and we'll try and put them in the right direction.
Thank you, Rachel. That is, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
No, I'm done. I'm good.
That was so helpful. I had no idea you had all those resources on your website. Critical thinking is something we run workshops into, and it, you know, it's such an important skill and wonderful to see all the different things you offer. So hopefully that was helpful to you all on the call as well, just to see what is available. I think often we have a vague idea what organisations do, but we often don't know the extent of what they can offer. So spread the word. Get in touch with Rachel. We will share your website, Rachel. I'm sure you can put your contact details in. This meeting is recorded as well. So do take the message back to your school communities or your organisations and get in touch with Rachel. But thank you. That was really important information. And, you know, it's always important, but particularly in light of what's happened over the summer. So thank you. That's brilliant. Thank you. Right, moving on. Thank you for the chat. To Brathay and James.
Hi guys,
Hello.
we're from the Brathay Trust, so we're a young people's charity based in the centre of Bradford. We are just opposite the cathedral in Bradford city centre. We're here today just to talk to you guys about our programme for young children from a refugee or asylum seeking background, so children that are seeking sanctuary. We're running a programme for them. We have successfully just completed our first cohort last summer. So we're here to talk to you today about our programme, hopefully starting within the next couple of weeks. So hopefully share our screen with you guys.
Look at it. Press 1.
Press 1.
Okay, cool. So we're running the Unite programme. And we're with the Brathay Trust, and the Brathay Trust is a primarily a charity for young people. It's going for a number of years. You might know it from our main base in Ambleside, and we're all about inspiring young people to build their bright futures. So our Unite programme, so as Summer said, we're running the second cohort. It's going to run over 10 weeks and is for young people aged 10 to 13 living in Bradford. The first time we ran it, it was for only the postcodes BD3 and BD5, but we've managed to open that up, thankfully, for the second cohort. So 10 sessions, 1 a week every Tuesday, and it will be a full school day. So like in the last one, we picked them up from school at around 9 and then had them back there for 3. With the overall aim of helping young people and their families integrate into Bradford and UK culture, and leaving them afterwards with support networks and a greater knowledge of how they can access services. So we also work with the families as well and put on family days. Where on the last cohort we took them all to as a big group, we went to the Yorkshire Dales. We had a nice day out walking, and we also had them here and sort of signposted them to other things we do at Brathay. So we've got a families team that work here as well, and skills house as well for people looking to find employment or write CVs and general help and stuff like that. So the aims of the project: introduce young people to Bradford. Some have been here a while, so some were born here, and then others were had only been here about a month. So there really was a mixture in the last group of how long people have been here. And as we said, develop life skills and lasting support networks in the community, increase resilience and self-esteem, help manage anxiety. So we had a session on how to manage emotions and about emotions and emotional literacy. You understand local services again. So it will be delivered by Summer, a youth worker, and me, a mental health practitioner at Brathay. So I'm a counsellor. So we've got a nice mix on the team. The other lead on the programme, Natalia, is going on maternity leave, so there'll be cover for that. Someone else adept in working with young people at the Brathay Centre. And then sessions, so we've got den building, we took them out into the forest, and cultural identity, emotional wellbeing, careers, days in Yorkshire Dales, and then team development, building confidence. And we run on a challenge by choice sort of ethos. So we do, like I was saying about the centre and Ambleside, it's a lot to do with outdoor pursuits, and that's the way we run it. So challenge by choice, though we encourage someone. So the last cohort, we took them on a residential trip in the Lake District for 3 days, and we did a zip wire, and it's, you know, and we went out on the Lake Windermere on canoes, and we went walking and bushcraft and stuff like that. So, and the whole ethos is we'll try and encourage you to challenge yourself, but ultimately it's up to you. Okay, and yeah, I'll hand you over to Summer to do the sessions.
Yep, so I'm just going to talk you through the sessions. You've got an idea of what we will be doing with the young people, should you choose to refer any young people that you're working with or share the project across your networks. So with session 1, we have it as a full family day, hoping to get the parents in. We can offer level 2 early help key workers for the parents to sign up to. We've also got a master list, a big pack of services and organisations across Bradford, Kirklees and Calderdale. So depending on their local area, we've got a whole list of organisations and services offering food banks, ESOL and any other sort of resources or help that they might need. It is very much easing the children and the young people into the programme, letting them get to know us and our centre, and for us to get to know them, and just easing them all in. We're also going to be having some sessions from some volunteers at Bevan Healthcare will be coming in to give some sessions to the parents, and also we have a specialist employability worker that specifically works with people from a sanctuary seeking background to come and give any support on employability in finding work should parents need that. On session 2, we're hoping to do some den building at Shipley Glen or Judy Woods, and that is to promote independence, team building across our group, and positive relationships. So our aim is to also integrate the young people, helping them finding friendships within each other, because they'll all be of a sanctuary seeking background, and having sort of those relationships with people from like-minded backgrounds will also be very beneficial for them. Session 3, we start talking about their stories, their cultural identity, learning about where they're from, what might be going in from their home countries, and just educating each other and ourselves on their different backgrounds and really giving them a choice, getting to hear their voice and their stories. Session 4, so we do have a partnership with the Yorkshire Dales Millennial Trust. So we'll be having a lot of sessions completely funded up to the Yorkshire Dales for some outdoor activities. And again, that is to build confidence, promote team building, and also just giving these young people an opportunity to explore the country. Obviously, we don't know what their backgrounds are like, and they might not have had an opportunity to do a lot of the activities that we will be offering. And because it is fully funded and completely free for them, they just snap at the chance. Session 5 links on from the cultural identity session. So after hearing about their stories, their voices, and where they've come from, we introduce them to England. We do a bit of a British History Day and introduce them to typical British culture, just to sort of help them with that integration, see what they like and what they don't like about Bradford and British society. Session 6 is another day trip to the Yorkshire Dales. So we break those up. We sort of have a session here at our centre, in the centre of Bradford opposite the cathedral, and then we'll take them for a day out on the next session. Session 7, so like James said, we do a session on emotional well-being. So that's promoting positive mental health, discussing how to regulate our emotions. I remember previous speakers were talking about there is some stigma around mental health, and I think targeting the young people and the younger groups sort of helps us to sort of break that cycle of that stigma and promote really positive conversations and coping mechanisms, as one of the aims identified in our funding for the project is to reduce any mental health stigma and inequalities within seeking any help for those difficulties. Session 8, we're going to be taking the young people to Saltmill and Saltaire, emulating David Hockney's art and just giving them an opportunity to just channel any creativity that they may have, and also get them out into the centre of Bradford. A lot of our project has taken them for 3 days out in the city centre, so regardless of cost or transport, it is something that they can do with their families as well, and sort of just to help further integrate them into the city. Session 9, so we're going to start winding down here. So we have a careers day. We think about life after Unite and our futures. Because of the age range that we're working with, the young people are between 10 and 13. We'll start thinking about, for example, GCSE choices, what they think about their education, careers, you know, if they have plans to stay in England long term. We also get a lot of young people that sort of discuss wanting to go back to their home country if and when things are settled there. So just getting them to think about their futures as well and building a brighter future for them. And on the last session, we invite the parents back again. We do a celebratory award session just to celebrate their growth along our programme, our project, and again, sort of share any resources for the parents and just have a really nice celebration of their growth. I'll just show you some photos from our last cohort. So on the photo on the left, we did some den building with the young people. They did some outdoor cooking, so that's them enjoying their lunch. The photo on the right is one of our young people, was on the zip line. So James mentioned we took our children up to our centre in Ambleside. So they were really brave. None of them had ever been up there or done anything like that before. And again, this was on the residential. We took them out onto Lake Windermere. We did some canoeing. This sort of residential was really great for our young people, just seeing the friendships blossom between them. And this was our scavenger hunt. We did a scavenger hunt around Bradford city centre, showing them all the free things that they can do right in the city centre as well, because this is where the young people were based. So we took them on a day out and they had lots of fun there. Yeah, that's it from us. Our next cohort is hopefully starting imminently within the next few weeks. There is still room to refer any young people onto the programme, and I'll ask Kate if she can send out the link to that at the end of the meeting.
Brilliant, thank you. We'll share the slides as well.
Yes, we'll share those
them with
over.
us. That would be great. This is such a great opportunity. If you have children in your school that fall within that age group and within those areas, love the pictures. Thank you so much for sharing. That's brilliant.
Thank you very much.